human mind can reach such heights of inspiration, depths of feeling, and subtleties of understanding that many people believe it can't be only a physical organism. But modern science says that everything can be explained in terms of matter and energy, and somehow all mental activity must be produced by the physical brain. This is the basis for the mind-body problem, a conflict as perplexing as any in modern philosophy. How then would Descartes address the mind-body problem? Reflecting further on his thinking self,
I saw that I could conceive that I had no body, and that there was no world nor place where I might be. But yet that I could not for all that conceive that I was not. From that I knew that I was a substance, the whole essence or nature of which is to think, and that for its existence there is no need of any place, nor does it depend on any material thing.
Descartes saw this same distinction between mind and body reflected in all of nature. In 17th century philosophy, a substance was regarded as something that didn't depend on anything else for its existence. Descartes maintained that the entire universe consists of two substances: matter, which exists in space, and mind, which has no spatial or physical properties and exists only in God and human minds. The doctrine became known as Cartesian Dualism. Perhaps the hardest question for Cartesian dualism to answer is this: if mind and body are separate and distinct substances, how can they interact? How can something outside the material world reach in and affect something in the material world without breaking basic laws of physics?
Even philosophers who don't agree with Descartes' dualism, and that would be the majority of philosophers today, still wrestle with it, because there is something rather right about the idea that in addition to my body, I have a mind which is not physical.
But many advocates of the new science objected to the idea of mind as a non-physical substance. Why not go the other way and suppose that everything in the universe is matter? Then figure out how to account for mind in terms of matter. This position is known as materialism. The most outspoken materialist in Descartes' era was the British philosopher Thomas Hobbes. For Hobbes, the universe consisted of matter in motion, nothing else. But if dualism struggles to account for how mind and body can interact, materialism struggles to account for everything that seems to happen only in the mind. Materialists argue that the mystery of the mind is an illusion that science will clear up.
Science has gained deep and penetrating accounts of things that are familiar in our everyday life, and they've gained explanatory purchase on them by identifying them with an underlying reality, with molecules, with molecular motion, with electromagnetic waves, with flowing electrons, and so forth. This is what has made modern science so successful as it is, technologically speaking. We hope for the same thing where the mind is concerned. We think that we're inclined to believe that. We think the evidence suggests that we will understand mental phenomena better when we appreciate what their underlying neurophysiological nature is, their neurofunctional, their neurochemical, their neuropharmacological nature.
Other philosophers doubt whether we will ever be able to reduce all mental phenomena to physical terms.
Even in science, really, reduction is a pretty rare thing, where a property of one science can really be defined in using the concepts of a lower level science. I mean, the reason we use the example of light is electromagnetic radiation over and over and over again. It is almost the only clean example.
Let me, I think, can see right off why this reductive kind of project is a dead-end project. It looks exciting sometimes scientifically, because after all, what our modern science aims at is precise explanation and prediction. So it looks exciting from that point of view. But it looks exciting only at the expense of leaving out all that's really interesting to explain. It never ends up explaining because what's really interesting to explain gets lost.
So neuroscience is certainly doing a better and better job of explaining the functions, how it is that we discriminate and integrate and control our behavior. But explaining those functions better and better and better doesn't do anything to remove the further problem of explaining subjective experience.
So you were reminded of remember the cautionary story of the drunk looking for his keys at night under the lamppost, and somebody finally asked him, well, did you drop them here? And he said, no, I dropped them way over there, but there's so much more light here, right? So you, in a sense, you lose sight of what you're trying to explain, what you're trying to examine, because a certain way of proceeding casts so much light on whatever it's casting light on, but it isn't casting light on what you really want to know, which is how human beings operate, how they are selves, what it is to be a self.
Accounts of what it's like to be human most often center on the experience of consciousness. The subjective, first-person nature of conscious experience resists being explained in objective, third-person terms.
When I look out at the world, there's a bunch of objective things going on in my brain. But what's truly interesting is what happens subjectively. I look out at that red apple, and I have an image of a red apple in my mind's eye. It feels like something. I have that ineffable quality of redness as I have a subjective experience. And one's consciousness consists of a whole array of those conscious experiences. In vision, in hearing, one hears a bunch of sounds, the sound of a middle C in the distance, maybe the feeling of warmth and coldness, a stream of conscious thought running through one's head, maybe a little sparkle of happiness, or the weight somehow of despair, all these subjective feelings which kind of together constitute the contents of one's consciousness.
And here's the bottom line of this discussion. The basic point is you can't do an eliminative reduction on something that really exists, and consciousness really exists.
Few philosophers today adhere to a Cartesian dualist position that mind is separate from matter. But not many either hold that people are only bodies with points of view. When you look deep inside, what do you see? A soul? A mind? Or signals from a remarkably complex, organic machine?